Once your MS switches have been added to your dashboard network, you should perform the following initial setup tasks. First, make sure you're in the correct dashboard network. I'm working on my San Francisco network, so I'll select the network drop-down and choose San Francisco. Now I'm looking at all of the devices in this network, including switches, at my San Francisco location. So where do I find my switches? They're going to be on the switches page. So I'll select switches, and then I see my list of switches for this location. The names of the switches are their MAC addresses by default. So in order to accurately identify each switch, you'll need to verify the MAC address or serial number in the dashboard against the label on the back of the switch. I'll go ahead and select this one, which I know is going to be the switch in my first floor network closet. This is the switch status page. Most of what you see here is informational. For example, the model number, serial number, firmware, configuration status. However, some of these things can be configured, specifically anything that has a pencil icon next to it. The first thing we need to do is give the switch a name. So this can seem a little intimidating at first because it looks like we're editing the switch's MAC address. However, it is just a name, don't worry. In my case, this is going to be the switch in our network closet on the first floor, so I'm just going to name it First Floor Network Closet. Your company might have a naming scheme already. If you do, just use that name. For example, if you number your network closets, maybe your name would be something like IDF 1.1. You can do whatever you want, but just be consistent and make sure it's easy to read. Next, we want to set the physical street address for the switch, just for documentation purposes. Our address here is 500 Terry A. Francois Boulevard in San Francisco, and it will automatically place the switch on the map for me. So that way we have a top-down view of where this location is. We'll come back to the IP info here in another video. And then I'm going to add some tags to make searching for switches easier in the future, especially as we expand. I want to tag this switch with first floor and IDF, as opposed to MDF or maybe an 8-port switch on someone's desk. I could also add some notes down here if I wanted to, if there was anything specific about this switch that I wanted to remember. In this case, I'm not going to add anything. Now that we've got our basic information set for this switch, let's set up the others. So I'll go back to my list of switches by clicking this list icon here in the upper left-hand corner. I'll pick my next switch and I'll do the same thing. So I'll give it a name. This is going to be my second floor network closet switch. And we're going to have the same address for this one too. I copied it before, so I'll just paste it in here. And then we're going to add some tags. So since this is our second floor switch, I'm going to add that as a tag. And then this is also an IDF closet, so I'm going to put that in as well. So now that that's done, if we navigate back to the switches list, we can use this information to find our switches. They all show up with their new names in this table, and this is a flex table, meaning we can customize which columns are showing. So if I want to see tags or notes, I could enable those. And there's also lots of other options here, like number of ports, serial numbers, all kinds of things. And once you add them, then you see them in the list. You can also search these things in the search bar. For example, if I search a tag, like first floor, now it shows me my only first floor switch. This will come in handy in the future as our business expands and as we continue to add more switches to this list. You can imagine how helpful this would be if we had hundreds of switches. You could simply type the name of the switch as well in here if you want to. And you could also expand this search box, and there are a few default filters here you could pick from. You could filter by status or device type, for example. That's it. We've named our switches, we've set some basic information for them, all before we even have our Meraki gear on site.